What's going on? This is My Life in the Shine. I'm your host, Donald Washington. Right now, I got Alicia Daniel with me. She's a licensed counselor in Illinois and Indiana. How are you, Alicia?
I'm doing great, Donald. How are you today?
Good. All right, so now I want to talk about this is 19-year-old Lyniah Bell. She was killed on the 8100 block of South Maryland in Chatham on the south side of Chicago, December 27th. She was just coming home for winter break. Her family did not want to see her boyfriend is in custody right now. She was found with a gunshot wound to the head. And her boyfriend is in custody for this murder. This is her boyfriend. I'm going to show you guys a picture of the boyfriend here. His name is Lafayette Hodges. He's only 18 years old. Now, the family described him as a guy on the streets. And the family disapproved of him because he was more of a street cat and she was more of a straight-A college prep girl. She went to North Lawndale College Prep. Now, one of the things that I said, expressed in my previous story, is that a lot of young ladies choose, as a licensed professional, what do you think about this story? And what do you think about a lot of young girls? And here's the myth on the streets, is that young ladies like thugs. Good girls like the thugs. What do you think about this and this particular case?
Well, I would say, I understand. I've heard that myth as well, or that belief. I would question. First of all, I would question what have those young ladies seen growing up, and I think that's a big part that I think is oftentimes not explored. We blame the young ladies for selecting certain men, but we don't also examine what healthy relationship dynamics were those young girls exposed to as to why they would select certain men. You know what I mean? Like, we don't just wake up and say, oh, I'm going to choose a thug. if that what they normalize in that young lady's household or the community in which she comes from. I think that should also be taken into account when we examine those situations and what our young girls are being fed and what they perceive as just a normal relationship.
Okay, so how do we curb this streak? I mean, in Chicago, one of the things that I say that people should do is literally move away from Chicago and, get away from this street mentality, because there's so many young little boys that have that thugged out street mentality, and this guy is trying to pass it off as a mistake. There is a witness that was there. And he's trying to put it off that he brought the gun as Russian roulette and it went off on accident. But that's not what the witness is saying. That's not what happened. But this is more too common. This happens, murder-suicide happens a lot. And what I was saying is that she was going places in her life. She was a straight-A college. She had a full-ride scholarship to Michigan State University. He knew his days was numbered, that she's going to probably leave him eventually. What do you think about that?
I mean, the funny thing, you should say that, Donald, because that's the first thought that came to my mind. Because, as I've told you before, I actually did my internship at a domestic violence shelter when I was completing my master's degree. And that is the foundation of domestic violence, is power and control. And that's exactly when I actually when I heard the story through the news outlets, that's the first thought that came to my mind, that this abuser likely felt as though he was losing control and acted in response to that. So we don't know what happened prior to him actually deciding to take her life, if that's the case. I mean, we haven't actually confirmed that that's the case. I know they're still going back and forth in court about it. But when I first heard it, that's the first thought that came to my mind when I heard there was a domestic situation, that it's a very good chance that the abuser felt as though he was losing a sense of control over this young lady. Once she went off to college, she was creating her own identity outside of him. He wasn't part of it. He had no say-so in it, and that could have triggered this response.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the signs to look for in a relationship? I mean, what do you tell someone that's 16, just starting out dating, 16, 17, 18? What do you tell them to look for? I mean, what do you tell them at that age?
It's funny you should say that, Donald, because I was literally just telling an adult survivor of domestic violence last week at the clinic that I work at, that I actually feel everyone should take the 40-hour domestic violence course. You know, it's actually offered in various parts of the country right now, including Chicago, at various outlets. Pretty much any local domestic violence shelter would offer a 40-hour course. But to answer your question, I would say the main thing we look for is power and control, someone not respecting your boundaries. So you set boundaries and the person is still pushing back. Verbal abuse. So I'm a true believer in that. Prior to anyone putting their hands on you, there likely was control. There likely was verbal abuse. So there's telltale signs that definitely we should be looking out for as women or men in relationships with other people. Another thing I often tell patients and clients here at this particular clinic, I think that there is another idea that's often overlooked. I actually call it love bombing, that I think people overlook. In other words, you just met someone, Donald, there is a healthy way in which a relationship should develop. I should not just meet you yesterday and now all of a sudden you're in love today. Right. And we've all either met someone like that, or we from afar have seen a relationship develop way too fast. So the term is actually called love bombing. Someone just met you, now I love you, I'm buying you lavish gifts. And it's actually a common domestic violence tactic that's used. So I encourage all people to look that up and just take the time to educate themselves about domestic violence. What it looks like, the cycle of abuse, all of those things.
Wow, hey, that's a good point. You know, I mean, that is falling in love too quick. Mm-hmm. And saying, you know, you got to really look for little stuff. You got to really get to know somebody. You know what? I was telling somebody that online dating, I feel, I don't know, I may have been telling you, online dating was pretty good because you get to conversate with somebody online and on the phone for over 2 weeks before you actually get to know them. So you can actually feel and get a feel for that person versus if you see somebody on the street, you don't know nothing about them. You just exchange numbers. You just know the physical appearance. You don't know the mental.
Yes, and I love that you said that, Donald. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're able to screen a person in a way, and if you're doing online dating in the correct way, I know there's some people that have like a stigma with online dating. I hear that a lot. I'm scared of it or this and that, but I agree with you wholeheartedly that if it's done the correct way, it actually gives you an advantage in a way that meeting people the traditional way would not give you.
Okay, so now at 19, they don't have records yet for the most part, but should you do a background check on every boyfriend at that age, or the parents do a background check on the boyfriend at that age?
Yes, I feel so. I feel you should do a background check on anyone that you're going to go out with, especially be alone with. Yes, I do. And one of my favorite websites, down on your viewing audience can look this up. I'm sure it's reasonably priced, but been verified. Being verified is awesome because you can put someone's name in and get a complete background check. If they have a criminal background, what they were arrested for, everything. You can even find out, I mean, people are more in our age group that's still dating. You can even find out if a person is married or not through being verified. So I think it's awesome.
Wow, that's a good point. I'm telling you, you can see a lot about a person, especially I think, 18 and 19 is such a dangerous age to date. Because at that age, you think that this person is the world, the first and the last, and this is all you're ever gonna meet. You're not trying to hear from adults, oh, you got your whole life ahead of you. You're not trying to hear it because you've never experienced a love like that. That's a dangerous age to fall in love.
And they have limited experience, as you just said. It's so true. So even those of us that are older who can identify certain unhealthy behavior traits in relationships, you're right, when you're 18, 19, what do you really know? And as I just said earlier, if a young person has not had healthy relationships around them, if I haven't seen examples of what a healthy relationship looks like, to be able to identify, I don't like how I'm being treated, I don't like how I'm being spoken to. If that's all I've seen, then it's normal. And I'll allow certain things to slide, certain red flags, and get deeper and deeper in a situation that I probably should have ended long ago.
Wow, good point, good point. I was telling, in the other show I did, I was telling people you covet what you see. And this is why it's so important This young girl did have a father. I do have a picture of her and her father. The parents did speak out, but this is her father right here, and they did release a statement. But I was telling people that, you know, it is so important for good men to be in these children's lives, because if it's a toxic situation, and I don't know the situation of this one, however, you know, why do men choose such horrible men? Like, from a man's perspective, I've sat and talked to women, and they're like, yeah, Donald, you know, he had 10 kids, 10 baby mamas. I'm like, huh? And I'm like, from a man's perspective, why do women choose such terrible men? I'm like, oh my God, this man had 30 baby mamas, and you laid down with this cat. Not saying anything in this situation. I don't know the situation. But it is healthy for them to see and grow up, not only that, in a positive environment. And because when you see stuff that's thrown off, and this is one of the reasons why I try to set boundaries with my child. You know, I believe, like, when you set boundaries with your child, they know that, you know, when they see stuff that's off, they know, wait a minute, I'm not used, I'm uncomfortable.
Right, so then she's later able to identify later in life that when something makes her feel uncomfortable, when something doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel kosher, right?
And I believe, as a father, when my daughter gets 16 or whenever, a lot of people say this is enabling them. Like, a lot of people don't want to get birth control, stuff like that. I kind of see that. I see what they mean. But you got to sit them down and describe, here's what you got to watch out for. If he's abusive, watch out. If he's physical, run.
Yeah, first of all, I would just say, period, to your daughter. If someone is not respecting, the word you used was excellent, boundaries. It's true. I've said something even as simple as saying to someone, hey, I don't want to go on a date tonight, and the person insisted you guys go out anyway. Those are little signs to me that someone is not respecting your boundaries. You have the right to make whatever decision you want to make, and it shouldn't be challenged. Yeah, that's why I am down.
Okay, here's the family statement. They were saying, we consistently let her know we did not approve, Bell said, of his daughter's relationship. They were on two different paths. After a while of her not comprehending what I'm saying, I stopped because I didn't want to push her to him. And which a lot of fathers are saying, hey, a lot of children rebel, and that's going to push, because when she came home, she stayed at his house. And so a lot of parents feel, you know, if I push her too much, she's going to run away. She was 19. That's grown.
Yeah, I agree. I understand what her parents are saying. However, I would still say she's at that age where she still needs guidance. So I understand one way that you feel as though, well, if I push her, if I try to educate her or try to push her in the opposite direction, she'll run back. But at the same time, I feel at that age, kids or young adults, shall I say, still need guidance. They still need their parents' support. And I feel that she needed that. Obviously, we realize she needed that now. I feel a situation at that age can quickly get out of control, and a young person will find themselves in a situation they don't know how to control, how to even get out of.
And you know what? Here's what the father said. He said he hoped the relationship will fizzle once she went to college. And he was right. He was right. That relationship was going to fizzle. He wasn't going to college. She went away to college. And that's why he did what he did, because he knew himself, she's going to meet somebody educated. She's going to meet somebody that's much better. His days was numbered, and I hope that she didn't tell him that.
And I think, unfortunately, the father, another piece that he didn't recognize, if it was a domestic violence situation prior to him actually killing her, which we believe it was other signs probably that she overlooked, that the moment she went to college and met someone else, that also represents what I was talking about earlier, him losing control. I no longer have that control that I had to tell her what to do, to have her listen to me, so now I need to regain that control at any cost.
That's one of the biggest signs, because what he was probably trying to do is, once she went away to college, he was probably calling on the phone. Where you at? Where you at? Why ain't you in your dorm room? Where you at? Where you at? Why ain't you in the dorm room? You should be here. You should be here. And when she probably was like, yo, you know, and he took, I believe he planned that. He planned when she got back, he was going to do something drastic.
Yep. It's very, very likely.
Because he realized once she went away to school, his grip, his control he was losing it. He couldn't keep it. He didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, this is a very sad tragedy. Alicia, thank you.
Very much so.
Where can they find you on social media?
Well, you can actually look me up on social media. My name is Alicia Danielle on Facebook.
Wait, hold on one second. Okay, go ahead. Say where they can find you at.
Hi, yes, you can look me up on Facebook. My name is Alicia Danielle. If you all have any additional questions, as Donald said earlier, I am a licensed counselor in Indiana and Illinois, and I'm perfectly happy providing any domestic violence education or counseling to anyone who's interested.
Okay, thank you. I want you guys to like, comment, let me know what you think about this video. Peace, peace.